What if your life's work was dismissed as too expensive? I'm Mira Langston, 52 years old, a software engineer who gave 15 years to Nexlify tech, only to be replaced by kids half my age. In a Portland boardroom, CTO Lena Bryce, 6 months on the job, slid a termination notice my way with a shrug. 3 juniors cost less than you, Mira, just business. My stomach dropped, but I signed, packed 15 years of code, coffee mugs, and memories into a cardboard box, and walked out. Colleagues stared at their screens, avoiding my eyes, as if my exit was contagious. By the Willamette River, the sunset burned crimson, mirroring the fire in my chest. I'd built Nexlify's payment system, their revenue lifeline, and they thought they could run it without me. At home, my son Ethan, 14 years old, looked up from his laptop. "Mom, you okay?" I forced a smile, ruffling his hair, but my mind churned. Sipping chamomile tea on our deck, the river's ripples caught the fading light, and I knew I wasn't done. I was ignited. Lena's efficiency would crash, and I'd be ready to prove my worth, not for her, but for me, my family, and every coder told they're expendable. This is my story of betrayal and rising above, of showing what experience builds. Lena's cold dismissal in that boardroom wasn't the first time I'd been pushed aside, it was just the loudest. The sting traced back 15 years, to a cramped Portland office where I started at Nexlify Tech, a startup with big dreams and a shoestring budget. I was 37 years old, a coder with a knack for systems, hired by Clara Lopez, Nexlify's founder, whose energy lit up the room. "Mira, build us a payment system that scales," she said, handing me a coffee mug stamped with the company's logo. The Willamette River sparkled outside our window, and I dove in. Coding a platform from scratch, secure, fast, able to handle thousands of transactions without a hiccup. That first project, a processor for a local retailer, went live at 2 a.m., Clara and I cheering as payments cleared, the screen glowing green. "You're our rock, Mira," she said, her grin wide. I believed her. Over the years, I turned that prototype into Nexlify's heart, a payment system processing millions across 40 countries, with custom encryption and fail-safes only I fully understood. I worked nights, debugging crashes while Daniel, my husband, fed our newborn son, Ethan, in the next room. My team grew to 12, and I trained them, but the system's core was mine, undocumented because Clara always promised, "We'll fund docs next quarter." That quarter never arrived, and I let it slide, thinking my work's reliability spoke for itself. My code kept clients like Blue Peak, our biggest, loyal, their $10 million monthly transactions flowing without a glitch. I'd built a fortress, but its keys were in my head, a fact I didn't see as a risk until it was too late. In 2020, Clara sold Nexlify to a venture capital firm, cashing out and leaving for a vineyard in Napa. The new execs cared about stock prices, not systems. They rejected my $50,000 documentation budget, not a priority, Mira. Push new features. I argued, showing how my encryption layers needed manuals, how a single misstep could crash the platform, but they brushed me off, their eyes on quarterly reports. My role shrank, strategy meetings stopped including me, my proposals marked deferred. I'd walk past the glass-walled boardroom, seeing suits nod at PowerPoints, my system's uptime stats flashing as their backdrop, yet I was invisible. Sam, my database lead, warned me over lunch, "They're treating you like a relic, Mira." I shrugged, sipping my latte, "They need my code to run." He shook his head, "That's what scares me." Daniel saw it clearer, his voice sharp one evening as we washed dishes, "They're phasing you out, Mira. Your system's too good, they think it runs itself." I laughed, drying a plate, "No one else can handle it, Daniel. I'm safe." His silence lingered, a warning I ignored. 6 months ago, Lena Bryce arrived as CTO, 38, all polish and buzzwords from her Silicon Valley stint. She pushed cloud migrations, off-the-shelf tools that wouldn't mesh with my custom code. I explained the platform's interdependencies, load balancers, failover chains, but her eyes glazed over. She hired 3 junior engineers, fresh from college, their notebooks filled with questions I answered patiently. "How's this encryption work?" one asked, and I walked him through it, not seeing they were Lena's scouts, not my students. Lena shadowed one session, then cut me from her syncs. My team whispered about her streamlining plan, but I thought my track record, 0 major outages in 15 years, would shield me. I'd sacrificed weekends, skipped Ethan's soccer games, coded through fevers to keep Nexlify's lights on. One night, Ethan, then 10, asked, "Mom, why do you work so much?" I hugged him, my laptop glowing, "To build something strong, kiddo." My grandmother's words echoed from my childhood, "Your work is your voice, Mira." I thought Nexlify heard it, but they only saw my salary, not my systems. Last month, Lena called a quick check-in, her smile too tight. I walked in, my coffee mug, the one Clara gave me, still warm, not knowing it'd be my last day. The Willamette's glow had felt like a promise back then, but standing by it after my firing, I saw I'd trusted the wrong people. My code was Nexlify's spine, but they thought they could swap me out like a cheap part. That mistake would cost them, and I'd make sure my next move spoke louder than their betrayal. 2 weeks after Lena's smug 3 juniors line sent me packing, the cracks I'd predicted began to show. I was at my Portland home office, tweaking my resume, the Willamette River a silver thread outside, when my phone buzzed. A text from Sam, my old database lead, "Mira, payment system's down. Clients can't process transactions. Lena's losing it." My pulse quickened, not with panic, but with a grim satisfaction. They'd thought my 15 years of code could be swapped out like a cheap battery. I didn't reply, but curiosity gnawed. I opened my laptop, logged into an old admin account, still active, their oversight, and pulled the system logs. A junior had botched a failover script, breaking the load balancer I'd hand-coded. The fix was a 5-minute reset sequence, but it was undocumented, locked in my memory. I closed the laptop, letting them drown in their efficiency. An hour later, Lena called, her voice sharp but fraying, "Mira, the payment portal's crashing. Blue Peak's transactions are failing. Can you consult, just a few hours? We'll pay $200 an hour." I let it go to voicemail, my hands steady. Blue Peak, Nexlify's golden goose, processed $10 million monthly through my system. Without me, their revenue was bleeding. Sam texted again, "Board's furious. Lena's blaming the juniors." I sipped my coffee, the mug Clara gave me years ago still warm in my hands. They'd cut me, thinking my platform would hum without its architect. Now, the silence of their failure was deafening. That night, Sam called, his voice hushed, "Mira, it's worse than you think. I found emails in the server archives. Lena planned your exit 6 months ago." My stomach twisted. He'd been troubleshooting a backup and stumbled on a thread between Lena and the board. "Check your old email," he urged. I dug into my Nexlify account, heart pounding, and found a forwarded message from Sam, "Lena to the CEO, dated last fall. Langston's system is over-engineered, a cost sink. We'll replace her with junior hires and transition to standard tools within a year." Another email sneered, "Myra's made herself indispensable by design, time to break that." My breath caught, the betrayal sharper than the termination notice. They hadn't just fired me, they'd plotted to erase my legacy, betting my code would bend to their shortcuts. I showed Daniel the emails, my voice shaking as we sat at the kitchen table, Ethan asleep upstairs. "They knew my system was the backbone, and they still threw me out," I said, tears burning. Daniel's jaw tightened. "They're idiots, Mira, but don't let them pull you back. You could fix it, make bank, but then what? They win." I paced, the Willamette's dark ripples visible through the window. I could let it crash, let them beg, I admitted, the thought bitter but tempting. Daniel grabbed my hand, "You're better than revenge. Build something they can't touch." His words echoed my grandmother's, "Your work is your voice." I wasn't sure what that voice would say, but I knew it wouldn't save Nexlify. The next morning, an email arrived from Nadia Patel, tech director at CoreZap, a rising SaaS competitor. "Mira, your payment platform at Nexlify is the gold standard. We're scaling fast and need your vision. Can we meet?" I stared at the screen, a spark igniting. Core's app was smaller but hungry, their platform handling $2 million monthly, with room to grow. I met Nadia at a cafe overlooking the Willamette, her warmth a stark contrast to Lena's ice. We want a payment system better than Nexlify's, secure, scalable, documented, she said, sliding a contract across the table. Lead architect, 25% above your old salary, full autonomy. Her respect for my work, her focus on sustainability, felt like air after drowning. I signed, my pen steady, a new path opening. Back home, I compiled Lena's emails, system logs, and my platform specs, not to sabotage, but to protect myself. If Nexlify came for me, claiming I'd rigged their failure, I'd have proof my system was built right, their downfall their own. Sam texted, Blue Peaks threatening to pull out. Lena's offering $300 an hour now. I didn't respond, but I stood by the river, the sunset painting it gold, and felt a shift. I wasn't just a fired coder, I was a builder, and Core's app was my canvas. Nexlify's collapse wasn't my fault, but it was my leverage, proof that experience isn't expendable. I whispered to the water, they'll see, my grandmother's voice in my ear, urging me forward. 5 weeks after Nexlify's system began to crumble, the fallout reached my doorstep, literally. I was on my Portland porch, the Willamette River's mist curling in the evening air, when a sleek SUV pulled up. Lena Bryce stepped out, her designer coat rumpled, her usual polish replaced by a frantic edge. Mira, we need to talk, she said, her voice tight, eyes darting. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, the weight of her betrayal heavier than the coffee mug in my hand. Talk about what, Lena? Your 3 juniors fixing everything? Her jaw clenched, but she pressed on, the payment system's a disaster. Blue Peaks pulling out. We'll pay $600 an hour, Mira, name your hours, just get it running. My heart pounded, not with fear, but with a clarity I hadn't felt since the boardroom. They'd tossed me aside, and now they were begging. I stepped back, gesturing her inside, more to keep Ethan, my 14-year-old, from overhearing than to welcome her. He was in the living room, coding on his laptop, his headphones on but eyes flicking toward us. You said I was expendable, I said, my voice low, steady. You planned my exit, Lena, called my system a cost sink. Why should I save you now? Her face flushed, but she didn't deny it. This isn't about me, she snapped. Clients are losing millions. The board's ready to fire me. We'll double your old salary, full-time, if you come back. I laughed, sharp and cold, the sound startling Ethan. He pulled off his headphones, watching, his expression a mix of pride and worry. You think money fixes this? I said. You bet against my experience, Lena. Now you're paying for it. She paced my living room, her heels clicking on the hardwood. Mira, please. Blue Peaks' contract is 30% of our revenue. Without them, Nexlify's done. The juniors can't trace your code, it's too complex. I set my mug down, the one Clara gave me 15 years ago, its logo faded but solid. That complexity kept your platform alive for a decade, I said. I begged for a documentation team. You said no. This is on you. Her eyes narrowed. Are you enjoying this? Watching us fail? For a moment, I wavered, the weight of Nexlify's collapse, jobs lost, clients hurt, pressing on me. My grandmother's voice whispered, your work is your voice. Saving them could be mercy, but it'd also prove they were right to discard me. Ethan stood, his voice quiet but firm, Mom, you don't owe them anything. His words snapped me back, his faith in me a lifeline. I faced Lena, my resolve hardening. I'm with Core's app now, building something better. Fix your own mess. Her face crumpled, a mix of anger and desperation. You're throwing away a fortune, she said, heading for the door. And your legacy. I followed her to the porch, the river's gold ripples catching the sunset. My legacy isn't yours to define, I called. She drove off, her taillights fading, and I stood there, heart racing but unbroken. The next morning, Sam called, his voice grim. Blue Peak's gone, Mira. They signed with a competitor. Nexlify's stocks in freefall. I sat at my kitchen table, Daniel pouring coffee, his eyes searching mine. You okay? He asked. I nodded, but the news hit hard, not joy, but a strange grief for the company I'd built, now rubble. Sam added, Lena's offering $800 an hour now, begging anyone who'll listen. I didn't respond, my focus shifting to CoreZap. At their office, Nadia Patel, my new boss, called me in, her expression sharp but excited. Mira, Nexlify's valuation's tanking. We're considering a buyout, pennies on the dollar. Your system's the prize, but it's a mess without you. Can you lead an integration if we move? My breath caught. My old empire, broken, could be mine to reshape under CoreZap's vision. I walked to the Willamette after, the river's current steady, mirroring my thoughts. Could I face Nexlify's ruins, salvage my code without saving Lena? I'd spent 15 years pouring my soul into that platform, only to be erased. Helping them now felt like betrayal, of myself, of Ethan's pride, of Daniel's trust. But CoreZap's offer wasn't about fixing Nexlify, it was about building something stronger, proving my work's worth on my terms. I thought of Ethan, coding his own app, his future tied to the lessons I'd teach him. I'd speak, not for Nexlify, but for me. Back home, Daniel sat with me, the city's lights glittering outside. You could go back, make a fortune, he said, testing me. I shook my head, they didn't value me then. I won't prop them up now. He smiled, squeezing my hand, then build, Mira. Show them what they lost. The next day, I met Nadia's team, sketching a plan to get Nexlify's platform, keep my core code, and integrate it into CoreZap's scalable framework. Sam texted, Nexlify's laying off half the staff. Lena's done. I felt a pang, but no regret. They'd gambled on cutting me, and I was done carrying their weight. My voice wasn't in their servers anymore, it was in the future I'd code. After Lena's desperate plea on my porch, the pieces of Nexlify's collapse fell faster than I'd imagined. 8 weeks later, CoreZap sealed the deal, buying Nexlify for a fraction of its former worth, a fire sale at 15% of its peak $200 million valuation. Nadia Patel, CoreZap's tech director, named me integration lead, trusting me to merge Nexlify's broken systems with our scalable platform. Walking through Nexlify's Portland office felt like visiting a ghost town. The server room, once my domain, hummed faintly, its blinking lights a shadow of the fortress I'd built. I stood there, the air cool against my skin, and felt a pang, not for Lena, but for the 15 years I'd poured into code now left to rot. I'd make it speak again, not for Nexlify, but for a future I'd shape. At CoreZap, I dove into Nexlify's systems, my laptop screen casting a blue glow as I sifted through their data. Sam, now hired by CoreZap, joined me, his fingers flying over a keyboard. Mira, you need to see this, he said, pulling up an archived server log. Buried in Nexlify's internal drives was a folder labeled Strategic Transition, containing emails from Lena to the venture capital owners, dated a year ago. One read, "We'll cut senior staff like Langston to boost margins before the sale. Her system's stable, juniors can maintain it." Another, from the CEO, "Approve. Make Nexlify lean for buyers." My breath caught, the betrayal deeper than I'd known. They hadn't just fired me, they'd engineered a sell-off, using my platform's reliability to mask their cuts, planning to cash out while I was erased. I showed Nadia the emails in her office, the Willamette River glittering outside. "This explains the rush to replace you," she said, her voice sharp. "They gambled on your system running without you, and lost." She leaned forward, "Mira, this buyout's our chance to rebuild right. What do you need?" I outlined a plan, salvage my core code, strip Nexlify's bloated add-ons, and integrate it into CoreZap's framework with full documentation. "No single points of failure," I said. "No one left indispensable by accident." Nadia nodded, "You're why we bought them." "Let it." Her trust fueled me, a stark contrast to Nexlify's dismissal. I was building again, not fixing their mess. At home, I taught Ethan and his friend Zoe to code a simple payment app, their laptops crowded on our kitchen table. Ethan, 14, debugged a loop, his eyes bright. "Mom, why didn't Nexlify listen to you?" he asked. I paused, choosing my words. They wanted fast money, not lasting systems. "I build for keeps." Zoe chimed in, "Like this app?" I smiled, ruffling her hair. "Exactly. Make it strong, not shiny." Their laughter warmed me, a reminder of why I fought, not just for me, but for kids like them, for a world that values work done right. Daniel watched, his coffee steaming. "You're teaching them your voice, Mira." I nodded, my grandmother's wisdom alive in their code. Lena called one last time, her voicemail pleading, "Mira, the consultants can't crack your encryption. We're losing more clients. Please, $1,000 an hour, just one day." I deleted it, my heart steady. Sam texted, "Nexlify's laying off 60% of staff. Lena's on thin ice." I felt no joy, only resolve. At CoreSap, our platform grew, onboarding Bluepeak's $10 million transactions flawlessly, my code now documented, my team trained. I walked through Nexlify's old server room again, this time with Sam, cataloging what to keep. "They didn't know what they had in you," he said, shaking his head. I touched a server rack, its hum familiar. "They do now." One evening, I met Nadia at a riverside cafe, the Willamette's ripples catching the sunset. "The board's thrilled," she said, sipping tea. "Bluepeak's staying, and we're eyeing more Nexlify clients." "What's next for you?" I hesitated, then shared a dream, a free coding bootcamp for Portland teens, teaching them to build systems that last. "CoreSap can fund it," she said, her eyes lighting up. "Call it the Langston Lab." The name hit me hard, a legacy Nexlify could never claim. I agreed, my vision taking root, not in revenge, but in creation. Back home, I sat with Daniel, the city's lights twinkling outside. "You could have saved Nexlify, been their hero," he said, half teasing. I shook my head. "They didn't want me, Daniel. CoreSap does. I'm done carrying their mistakes." He raised his glass, "To building better." I clinked mine, the sound sharp, final. My phone buzzed, another text from Sam, "Lena's out. Board fired her." I set it down, the news a footnote. My voice wasn't in Nexlify's ruins, it was in CoreSap's servers, Ethan's app, the bootcamp I'd launch. 10 months after CoreSap's acquisition, Nexlify's ashes gave way to something stronger. I stood in our Portland headquarters, the sign now reading CoreSap Solutions. My team had integrated Nexlify's systems into our platform, a beast processing $3 billion annually, fully documented, rock solid. Bluepeak, once Nexlify's lifeline, now ran flawlessly on our servers, their CEO emailing Nadia Patel, "Langston's system is a game changer." Nadia promoted me to VP of Engineering, my team of 25, including Sam, building platforms meant to last. The server room, once Nexlify's heart, hummed under my design, its lights no longer a ghost but a pulse of my new legacy. Nexlify's collapse was complete. Lena Bryce was fired, the board citing her catastrophic mismanagement after emails surfaced exposing her cost-cutting plot. They offered me her CTO role, triple my old salary, a desperate bid to salvage their name. I met their chairman at a downtown coffee. "Mira, you're our only shot," he said, sliding a contract over. I pushed it back, my voice calm. "You didn't value me then. I'm building, not cleaning up your mess." He stammered, but I walked away, the river's glow brighter than his promises. Lena's LinkedIn went quiet, her last post a vague startup pitch. I didn't gloat, her fall wasn't my victory. My win was the system I'd built, the team I led, the future I shaped. I launched the Langston Lab, a free coding bootcamp for Portland teens, in a sunlit community center. The first class, 15 kids including Ethan, sat at tables cluttered with laptops, their screens glowing with Python scripts. Ethan's payment app, now live on GitHub, inspired his friend Zoe to code a budgeting tool. I taught them to write clean, secure code, to build systems that endure. Why document everything, Ms. Langston? A boy asked. I smiled, thinking of Nexlify's chaos, so no one's left in the dark. Their laughter filled the room, Ethan's grin widest, his pride in me a warmth I'd never found at Nexlify. At a city tech fair, my students demoed their apps, the crowd's applause echoing off the Willamette's banks. A local teacher, Ms. Carter, approached. Mira, your kids are stars. Can we fund a second lab? I nodded, my heart full, my work now a beacon for others. The community embraced us, their support a stark contrast to Nexlify's cold boardroom. At a riverside festival, I shared a Python poem I'd coded, its lines dancing on a screen, a river of data, flowing free, unbreakable. Ethan cheered, Daniel's arm around me, the crowd's claps a rhythm of belonging. Sam, now my deputy, raised a glass, to Mira, who built better. We toasted, the sunset painting the sky gold. My old Nexlify mug sat on my desk, a relic of Clara's trust, but my new voice was in the lab, in Core's app, in every line of code I wrote. Lena sent an email, her tone brittle. Mira, I'm sorry. Can we talk? I deleted it, her words weightless. The board tried again, offering a consulting gig, name your price. I didn't reply, their desperation a fading echo. Daniel's parents called, proud but distant, asking to visit. I agreed, keeping boundaries, my family now those who saw me, Daniel, Ethan, my team, my students. One night, I sat with Ethan, debugging his app under the stars, the breeze soft. Mom, you proved them wrong, he said, his voice steady. I hugged him, I'd found mine, not in Nexlify's ruins, but in systems that served, in kids who'd code the future. Core's app grew, acquiring 2 more Nexlify clients, our platform the industry's gold standard. Nadia texted, Langston Labs trending on X. You're a legend. I laughed, but the truth settled deep, I'd turned betrayal into creation, not for revenge, but for me. On our deck, Daniel poured wine, the river's currents a mirror of my journey. You did it, Mira, he said. I raised my glass, we did. My code, my classes, my son, they were my legacy, louder than any boardroom's dismissal. If you've risen above being undervalued, how'd you do it? Share below, I'm listening. Like, subscribe, for more stories of proving your worth. Thank you for being here.